Brother Peter with tidbits from the Word. So proud to be with you today. And the Word of the Lord in chapter 2 of the book of Jeremiah in the Old Testament, there was a man named Jeremiah who was called of God to proclaim the gospel. In a wicked day, in a day when the land was given over to the devil and the devil's works and the devil's things, and the people had taken on the actions of the devil, and it was working against God in the land in that day. Now God said, moreover, the word of the Lord came to me. This is Jeremiah talking, and the word came to him. Not did it just speak to him, but touched his mouth and put the word in his heart. He said, go and cry in the ears of Jerusalem, saying, thus saith the Lord, I remember thee, the kindness of thy youth, the love of thine espousal, when thou wentest after me. This was God when he said to a land, a nation, a group of people, he said, I have chosen you. I chosen you from Abraham, your father. The first seed of the Jewish nation was Abraham. And God chose that nation to be his bride, his people, for the time. And listen to this. He brought them out into a wilderness, a land where there was nothing. There was nothing in that wilderness. But God was going to make a land of milk and honey for them and give them. He brought them through that wilderness. He fed them while they were in that wilderness on a daily basis with manna. He loved them. He said, I would have gathered you under my wings as a chicken gathers her chicks under their wings. But you wouldn't hear it. You wouldn't have me. You wanted to do your own way. Therefore now, because you have gone your own way, the way of Balaam, there is a wickedness come upon you that needs to be dealt with. Israel was holiness unto the Lord, and they were the first fruits of his increase. All that devour him shall offend. Evil shall come upon them, saith the Lord. Anybody that came against Israel in the day God was behind them and with them, anybody that came, God put vengeance on them. He wiped them out. Look, when they went after the land of milk and honey, what did God say? He said, I'll drive them out. He drove some out with bees. He drove some out with the pestilence. He drove some out with different things. You remember Pharaoh in Egypt, how God put those plagues on him to deliver the children of Israel out of that wicked place. And he did. It said, in verse 4, he said, hear the word of the Lord, O house of Jacob, and all the families of the house of Israel. Listen, there was Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. 3 generations came down, Abraham being the first, Isaac the second, Jacob the third. In those 3 generations that came down, God said, now, listen to me, all 3 of you generations. Listen to what I have to say. Verse 4, hear ye the word of the Lord, O house of Jacob, and all the families of the house of Israel. Thus saith the Lord, what iniquity have your fathers found in me, that they are gone far from me, and have walked after vanity, and I become vain. This is the United States of America today. We have walked after iniquity, and we have become vain. Hey, prohibition, when we first started freeing up alcohol to serve every living soul so that some could make dollars, so that some could get rich. Hey, I worked on a plantation a few years ago, and I found out that that man had got rich during probation time with alcohol. He had got rich with pushing alcohol and had a plantation. Do you know when he died, he left it behind? Do you know he came into this world naked and he left this world naked? If he had followed and did follow that system that he was following, making liquor and selling it, and if he followed that, listen, the man's in hell burning today. Listen, God said, you will be punished. You will be rewarded for the life that you live. Your reward can be hell and punishment forever if you live a heathen life. If you live a life for God, your life can be heaven and bliss forever, preciousness being before God and worshiping and being a free agent forever. Never again coming under the bondage of sin. Never ever coming under the bondage of having to shed a tear over sin. I have an evil thing happen to you. There is no evil in heaven. All evil is in hell. All goodness is in heaven. If you're in hell, you're going to have all evil. There will not be not one split second of goodness in hell. Not 1 second of goodness in hell. There was 2 men in the book of Luke. One was a rich man. He fed sumptuously every day in purple and fine linen. The other was a beggar. But the beggar had said, Jesus, forgive me of my sin. Come in my heart and save my soul. Did it deliver him from being a beggar? Not at the time. But it could have, but it didn't. So there he was, a beggar in hell, in heaven. Now here's the rich man. He's in hell. When he lifts up his eyes, being in torment and flame, and he seeth Abraham afar off and Lazarus in his bosom. And he says, then, Father Abraham, have mercy on me and send Lazarus. It's too late. He waited too late. He acted too late. He had the opportunity while he was alive. After death, there is no forgiveness of sin. After death, if you end up in hell, you're there forever. We see, though, a picture of that man when he was in hell. He had his eyes. He could look up. He could see. He had his ears. He could hear. He had his mouth. He could talk. He had his desires. He desired a drop of water on his tongue, yet he could not get it. And where are you this day? Where are you this day? Are you in the position of that man headed for a hell where you can't get out of forever? Or are you a man headed for heaven? It's your choice. Now look over here, back in the book. In the 2nd verse, we say, go and cry against Jerusalem, saying, saith the Lord, remember the kindness I had on thee. And what he's saying here, God is saying to the people here, listen to the preacher. Listen to what he's got to say. Follow what he's got to say. And you will inherit the kingdom of heaven. Israel was holiness unto the Lord. Israel was the first fruits. When God came down to this earth, he chose a people. He called them Israelites. They were the first Jewish people. And they were the people that would come. Now he said, you all have gone an evil way. And because you have, I'm going to have to put some punishment on you. Hear ye the word of the Lord, O house of Jacob, he said. Thus saith the Lord, with iniquity have your fathers found in me. You've said, well, man, I don't know why we should follow God. And God said, well, you haven't found any iniquity in me. So you've become vain because you've left me. Neither said they, where is the Lord that brought us up out of the land? I tell you where he is today. He's right where he always was. When they first settled the United States of America, God's hand was on it. It was a group of people that came from different countries, different places, where they could have freedom of worship. And that's what they had in the United States of America, freedom of worship. That's leaving us and going to leave us fast, my friends. Going to leave us fast. It's not many days from now we're going to see all hell break loose. The devil has got some great victories of late, and he has taken over, and we're going to have a time we're going to see the freedoms of the United States of America are going to disappear. Our grandparents, almost it's going to seem like, have gone to war and died in vain for what we have come to today. You cannot forsake God and continue and not be punished for it. So let me tell you today, you need to turn to the Lord today, and you need to start praying for your country, and you need to get on the ball. My time has come and gone. I'll see you next time. It's Brother Peter with tidbits from the Word.